funny, I thought the world was ending, but here we are. We're in June and everything seems under control. Rewind back a couple of months and March, April, the world seemed like it was ending. The stock market was crashing. The major banks were forecasting 30% drops in property prices. It really seemed like Armageddon, where now everything seems to be returning back to normal. Cafes and restaurants are open. The stock market's almost back at all-time highs. Things really seem to be improving. So today I want to talk about the 4 reasons I think now is a fantastic time to be buying property. Whether it's your first home, whether you're downsizing, upsizing, buying an investment property, these 4 reasons will really be applicable to you. So tune in and hope you enjoy. So it's now June 2020 and the world seems to be returning back to normal quite quickly. So today I want to talk about the 4 main reasons I think now is a fantastic time to be buying property, and I hope it provides you a little bit of an insight into what I'm seeing happening in the marketplace. Now, the first reason I think it's a really great time to be buying is interest rates are at record lows, and it's crazy to look at how quickly they have dropped when looking back only 18-24 months ago. So right now, if you shop around, it is possible to secure interest rates at 2.19% for owner-occupier loans. Considering inflation sits at around 2% historically, it's basically your interest is pretty much tracking inflation. So it's pretty close to costing you nothing to borrow money when you do take into consideration inflation. Now, we rewind back 18-24 months ago, and getting a rate under 4% was really quite an achievement. Like 2018, if you got a rate that had a 3 in front of it, you really were doing quite well. And this has really created an opportunity for people buying, as you can borrow so much more for the same repayments, or your repayments are so much cheaper depending on which way you look at it. As a bit of maths, so say you had a 2.19% home loan today on $400,000, that would essentially cost you $350 a week to repay if you had it on a 30-year loan. So that is a $400,000 loan at 2.19% would cost you $350 to repay. Now, going back about 18 months ago, if this loan was at 3.69, which was quite common in 2018 and even 2019, we were seeing rates of 3.69, borrowing the same $400,000 loan on the same terms would cost you $425 a week. So that's a $75 a week saving with the current interest rates versus what they were 18 months ago. And that's making property really attractive at the moment, especially as an owner-occupier, because that's more money in your pocket. As an investor, it's really adding to your cash flow position. To look at this another way, for repayments of $425 a week, in 2018 you could just borrow $400,000. So for $425 a week, you could borrow $400,000 at 3.69%, repaying it over 30 years. Fast forward to today, and our rates of 2.19 means you can borrow an extra 20%, and that's an extra $80,000. So rather than borrowing $400,000 in 2018, you can now borrow $480,000 and pay the same repayments. So this is making a huge difference and really allowing people to shop and spend more on property, buy a property that's a little bit nicer, that ticks a few more of their boxes, and this will start to drive up prices and is already driving up prices. So that's the first reason I think now is a great time to be buying, is these record low interest rates. And really looking around, I think these rates are here to stay for at least the next couple of years. So it is an attractive environment for buying an investment or a primary place of residency. The second reason I think now is a fantastic time to be buying is there's some really great government incentives around. So as a first home buyer at the moment, you've got the first home buyer deposit scheme, which essentially allows you to buy a property with only a 5% deposit and not pay lender's mortgage insurance. Now, I've done a recent video on that, which I'll link to, and there's a number of other grants floating around. I'll also link to that video that I did recently on the home builders grant. So have a look at that. There really is some great incentives, and that's making now also a great time to be getting into property. The third reason that I think now is a really great time to be buying is that those forecasts of 30% drops in the market have simply not come true. Most markets have remained steady, and some markets are actually increasing in value. So those people that were being optimistic and hoping for the market to crash, so far there just hasn't been any evidence of this. And even in Cairns, an area that I feel should be quite impacted by everything that's going on, the market here is doing just as well as it was in January and February, and we're seeing great numbers through properties and seeing some really good prices that rivaled those that happened at the start of the year. So it's really looking like property is going to remain steady when it comes to prices. Now, on a national level, national home values have remained 8.3% higher than they were just a year ago. Perth and Darwin are the only capital cities where values remain lower than at this same time last year. Across the state capitals, Melbourne's housing market has posted the largest falls over the month, but is really only down 0.9% in May. That's a really inconsiderable amount, and that's on the back of a 0.3 reduction. So we're essentially talking 1.2% is all that market's fallen, and that's a market that is considered quite expensive. This is still really a far cry from those 30% predictions. Speaking with agents across the ground in different markets, everyone across Australia is reporting very similar results. The market has bounced back, we're seeing volumes return, and prices really are remaining steady. The fourth reason I think now is a great time to be buying is rents have remained steady. Now, there was a whole lot of anxiety and fear in the market when the Rona first appeared, and people were talking about rent freezes and rent reductions and people not being able to pay their rent. But in reality, this ended up affecting a very small portion of our renters. We've got quite a large rental pool of properties that we look after with the company I work for, and we have really not felt the effects at all. The amount of people actually affected has been very, very minimal, and the vast majority have been able to continue to pay their rent. We did see a little bit of a dip in March and April when we saw all the Airbnb stock that was that short-term rental stock move over to permanent rentals. We did have a little bit of a imbalance. There was definitely more supply than there was demand for a short period of time, but those properties have now been absorbed back into the market and are now all rented, and we're seeing rental prices really remain steady and starting to, much like the sales market, starting to creep back up again. A lot of properties really are renting for over 5% of what they would cost to buy. And this is meaning if you are a renter and looking at buying a property, you're going to find in the vast majority of cases it is cheaper to buy and own than it is to rent. And the inverse of this, if you're an investor looking at buying in the market, you're going to find the vast majority of properties are cash flow positive, and this makes for a really appealing investment situation. Overall, I've been really surprised by how well the market has performed, especially in the last 4 or 5 weeks. You really wouldn't know there's any pandemic or any major situation going on at the moment. Buyers are around in numbers, and property prices, like I say, really are remaining steady, and if not anything, showing signs of going up rather than down. So I'm optimistic as the year goes on, these trends will continue. And I think if you are looking to buy, I think now is a great time to be getting into the market and taking advantage of those 4 points that I just spoke about before. Hope you've enjoyed this video, guys. If you have, make sure you hit the like button. It helps the video get seen by more people. And if you want to see more, make sure you subscribe. We love bringing out new content and can't wait to talk to you soon.